It's time for the Movin' the Chains podcast. Your home for high school football coverage in the Palmetto State. Every team, every game, every week. And now your hosts, Kevin Thomas and Jarrell Hendricks.
Welcome into Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside Darrell Hendricks. We've got a great interview today, a very special guest, a recurring guest now as well. That's the new head coach of the Gray Collegiate War Eagles, De'Angelo Bryant. Coach, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing well. Blessed and trying to stay cool.
I hear that. We appreciate your time. We really do. If this is you guys' first time tuning in, check us out on Facebook, Twitter /X, Instagram, YouTube, and more at Movin' Chains, our website, movinchains.com, and our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Coach Bryant was hired in February. He was the head coach at Silver Bluff for the past 6 seasons, going 38-24. Prior, he spent time at White Knoll and James Island. Coach, let's start there. What's that transition been like, going from the Bluff now up here to the Midlands and that Gray Collegiate head man job?
Yeah, well, it was tough leaving home. It was tough leaving Silver Bluff, and and we had built a really good culture down there. Was able to kind of really feel like I was able to put my name on it, and as well as our other coaches and our players. Tremendous background as far as the kids were concerned, but the transition to Gray Collegiate has been very inviting. It's been very dynamic in the way that the difference. And I could probably say the accountability from top to bottom, from administrations to the teachers to coaches, all the way down to players has just been remarkable. Just one of the things that stand out. The academic piece of it is obviously something that has been kind of a highlight of the job as well. And then obviously the athletic side of it, where you're walking into a situation where you're around people who have a championship mentality. You're around the coaches who have a championship mentality. Some of those coaches who've already been successful and continue to be successful, but others who are working towards that success as well.
Coach, yeah, you just mentioned how tough it was to leave, what specifically, made it, the most important. You highlighted, Gray Collegiate and what they offer, but what specifically highlighted, that job and made you want to pursue that opportunity? Because, you're not just leaving Silver Bluff, you're leaving home, you're leaving in your alma mater.
Yeah. It was just the accountability, just being in there and just, getting an opportunity to accept a different challenge. So many coaches, they missed that window, and it was extremely hard to leave Silver Bluff, just because, like you said, it is home. So there's a whole lot more that was connecting me to this place besides football, besides the school. I had family, still have family, and more than anything, just the young men that we had an opportunity to impact on a daily basis, and to be able to just give those kids an opportunity. Again, just the whole challenge piece of being able to accept the new challenge at Gray Collegiate. I think that's where my heart truly was. And, I was just very blessed that, God was just really just telling me it was time for me to move.
Coach Darrell mentioned, obviously, you're from Silver Bluff, but for folks who maybe not be, super familiar with you, do you mind giving us kind of a quick background about how you kind of got into coaching, maybe what you did after high school? I know you played collegiately, but just some background for the folks who aren't familiar with your career.
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. Ever since I was really the age of 8, I knew I wanted to be a coach. I was funny. The other week I was in one of my storage houses, and I found notebooks. I guess I was supposed to be paying attention in school, and instead I was drawing plays And I do remember getting in trouble for doing that by my mother. And so I knew at an early age this was something I definitely wanted to go into. And obviously I had the opportunity to go and play at Wake Forest University. And I really kind of describe my career as really kind of being a player coach. I really more served as in that role to help a lot of upcoming players and, to be able to serve in the way that I needed to. And then I started my career at James Island Charter High School. And, you think about the irony in that now, get this new job. And then I'm, my first game of the season in a Gray Collegiate apparel will be against this where I started my coaching career. I spent the year there. It was tremendous. I learned a whole lot under Coach John Patterson, who is a tremendous offensive line coach, and just spent this past year at Oceanside as well. And then, I really grew up at White Knoll. I kind of describe that as really my growing up phase. I was able to work for two really, really good men. And I was surrounded by really good assistant coaches as well. And so I kind of really describe that as my time that I really grew up. And then the opportunity came for me to return home. And I was just very blessed to be able to get 6 amazing years at Silver Bluff. A little rocky when, we kind of first started, really had to come in and really reshape the program, but also doing that while still keeping the foundation of what guys like myself and, guys before me had laid that foundation at Silver Bluff. And so, it's still the community, still a tight-knit community. And we were just able to have some very historical moments while being at Silver Bluff.
Coach, I want to ask you next about your staff there. Coach Holmes, you're replacing him. He started that program, and you had a lot of guys on staff there that had been there for a while. But what are you doing there? Were able to keep some people in place? Did you bring people from the outside? What do you have on staff there?
Yeah, so it's a really good situation. I walked into a situation where I had previous relationships with some of the guys that was on staff. Guys like Jackie Robinson, who's a brilliant mind, who's been offensive coordinator at the collegiate level, obviously played at Clemson. Mike Armstrong, who has a wealth of knowledge, and, so you get an added bonus with that because he also knows the weight room and stuff. Coach Howie Bear, who's been orchestrating that defense for an extremely long time, a very old school guy, which you need that on your staff. He's been a tremendous help to me since I've gotten this position. Craig Farnsworth, the list kind of goes on. And then I was actually able to get 2 really good coaches into the building as well. One of those being former Dreher head coach. And, he's had a lot of success at Gilbert the last couple of years, Trey Sullivan. And then Jason Furtick from Swansea, who's a Swansea guy and who's been at Swansea, great special teams guy, and just a blue collar worker. So, it's the dynamics actually worked out really, really good. All of those guys immediately when I accepted the position, they really had a strong interest of coming back to Gray. And so that told me a lot about Gray. That told me a lot about what they wanted to be a part of. I was able to share with them my ideas and where we wanted to try to elevate the program to. And those guys just all seem to be on the same page. And, so far it's definitely working out in our situation. But I'll just tell you, each of those guys, and it does ease you as a head coach because, when you come to a practice or you see how things are done and orchestrated, a lot of those guys that's on staff can easily be head coaches. They can be coordinators at any level, in my opinion. So that helps when you are able to surround yourself with a plethora of guys, who have a strong desire like you do.
One thing that I've really enjoyed about your team's last couple of years, Coach, is the way that you've kind of adapted each season to what the strengths and talents of your players may be. What do you think you're going to be doing more of scheme-wise this year on offense and defense? Is it too early to tell so far for the War Eagles? Do you have an idea of where you're going to go? And then obviously, will you call plays for either side of the ball as well?
Yeah. So we have options. I mean, and I think when we start on the offensive side of the ball, obviously we're returning our quarterback and he throws it about as good as anybody in the state. And now he'll come back with even more leadership. And so we have 2 years in the tank with him. And BJ Montgomery, who's probably one of the top backs in the state. he can hit the home run at any given moment. But I think when you look at what we have outside, we're going to be able to have options to, be able to pass the ball in all three phases of the game, from the short game to the intermediate, even down to our long ball. I feel really good about that. The offensive line, we're still trying to piece some things together, still trying to find the right combination of individuals. But we do have some returning guys that's going to be back for us. So really feel good about where we at offensively. Defensively, our front seven, I believe, can play with just about anybody. We return a lot of guys up front. Those front four guys are all returning guys. Two of those guys kind of missed the state championship, so I know they're chomping at the bits to really get back. And then our linebacking core, starting with Michael Bower, who's he's yet to really hit his ceiling. And then in the back end, we still have some work to do back there, but we are returning one or two of our corners. Aiden Legger is one of the guys that kind of jumps out to mind. He's got some playing experience as well. So, I think the biggest thing that we're going to have to have options. I believe we're going to have to be, very multiple what we're doing now playing at the 4A level, especially when you're talking about the different types of teams we'll play, much less talking about, what we're facing out of conference to really start off with. So we have to be multiple, and we're working towards different ways and different schemes on what we can do. And, the good thing about being able to take, multiple packages into the game is, it does give yourself a variety if a team is being able to play you a little bit more one-sided.
Now, you mentioned some special players and Boulware, Montgomery, and things like that. Who are some other guys you want to give a shout out, maybe doing some work in the offseason, or maybe some sleepers that you really think are going to stand out this season for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you have to start with one of our biggest leaders is Traquan Singleton. We call him Mo. Mo had a tremendous state championship game, as you guys know, basically lived in the backfield. He's had a tremendous offseason. Just one of the guys immediately when I walked into the weight room, his presence was just absolutely felt. I think Davon Toney is going to kind of be a sleeper. It was a sophomore that kind of played for us last year. Kind of plays that bandit position for us. So he's plays out in space really well. Name that you guys are probably familiar with, Hazar Gant, has made his way to West Columbia now. So it's great to be able to have a familiar face there and to really see his game develop as well. Yeah. He's finally starting to come into his own, and so that's going to be a tremendous fresh breath there. Being able to add him to the roster too, and one of the individuals I am just extremely high on too is Zion Joe, caught the touchdown in the state championship game. Just a blue collar guy. He's a jack of all trades. He can play offense. He can play defense. He'll be a special teams. He's probably going to be one of few guys that won't leave the field for us this year.
Coach, a lot of times it feels like, when you're going into a new program, it's a place that needs some new juice. It's a place that, has had some tough seasons, some tough times, but that's not really the case here at Gray Collegiate. Coming off a upper state championship last year, a state title, I guess 3 years ago now, I guess kind of how does that change the dynamic of how you come in with your message, and what have you kind of done to kind of put maybe your stamp on the program that's already been, really successful here lately?
Yeah, that was the biggest challenge I really faced when I was accepting this position was, how, what do I say? What do I do? And how do I react? Because obviously Coach Holmes did a tremendous job with the program from the way he began it all the way on up, and had an opportunity to coach against him a couple years ago in the state championship. And, he and I have always shared a lot of different information and just talked. And so he's done a tremendous job, he and the staff and those guys that were a part of that. Our biggest thing is we got to find ways to elevate different things in the program. And it's not that anything was broken, but it's just really trying to come in and just find different ways to be able to elevate our athletes and to push those buttons, figure out who your guys are, figure out who's going to roll up the sleeve and go to you. But I think what has also kind of been a spark in this transition has been the fact that we are going to 4A. So it's not one of those deals where you're playing a bigger school and then all of a sudden you're dropping down to to playing at the level that they were previously at. So like this week, not this year, every single week we have to bring it. I mean, we have to bring it. I think when you take a look at our first really 5 to 6 games, I mean, you're talking about teams historically, and as of lately that have been state champions. They've been region champions. They've competed well. And I just don't believe, and my message to those guys, all year since I've gotten there has been, we have to be consistent, and consistent is what's going to help us. Consistent is what's going to help us win ball games. And so that's kind of been my biggest message. And then obviously, still being able to bring the things that I truly believe in. I believe character wins ball games, and that's something that we're going to continue to thrive on and continue to do and to continue to emulate, within our program. So the guys are doing a great job of being able to adapt to me and my culture and what I'm bringing, as well as our other coaches. And our coaches have done a good job of really being a supportive cast all the way around. So, everything is starting to kind of gel together.
Coach, you mentioned that transition from 2A to 4A, and quite frankly, Gray Collegiate, they've been the topic of conversation when it comes to charter schools and football in the state of South Carolina. What's the most exciting piece, of making that transition, and what do you find most challenging? Because Gray Collegiate, they're using that multiplier. You don't have the biggest school and the biggest roster.
I'm gonna start, on this side of it. I think the biggest challenge that we're going to face is going to be the depth of our program. When we do look at it, and I'll be completely honest about it. We still are showing where we have 2A numbers in terms of the athletes that we actually have. And when you get late in the playoff, and you play in a brutal region and a brutal schedule like we will play, depth is going to have to be our best friend all the way around at some point in time. So we as a coaching staff, the biggest challenge that we're going to have is, we're going to have to create depth at so many other positions, where as a guy may be our starting receiver, but he may have to be our second team guy on as a safety, but he also may have to be the third team guy at a bandit or outside linebacker position. That's not even including talking about special teams. So we just have to be very creative about the way that we utilize our guys. The way that we're going to be able to steal reps, take advantage of different teams and basically the small part of it. I shared something with my coaching staff the other day. And there's a guy I work with, and he's been a tremendous baseball coach over the couple of years, and that's Charlie Assey, who's our baseball coach at Gray Collegiate. If you ever go to a Charlie Assey baseball game, you'll see that he plays small ball a whole lot, and he bunts and he steals and still does all the old school things that I think the baseball game has kind of grown away from. And I kind of made that term and made that analogy with our staff the other day, is that we're going to have to find ways to be creative and to be able to just, like I say, just steal those little things that can amount to the big things later on. May not always show up in the stat column, but you look and say those 1 or 2 plays that we did change the ball game.
You're also coming in at the same time as a new AD there at Gray Collegiate. How helpful has that been, having a new guy kind of take that job while you come into football, or how's that dynamic, I guess, work so far for you guys?
Oh man, I tell you what, Kevin Heisey is one of the best men you could ask for of being an athletic director. Very well respected in the coaching world. Obviously, he is a tremendous soccer coach. I had an opportunity to just sit and watch soccer games this year, and I've never truly have done that in peace without having to be on the administrative side of things. So I actually got a chance to do that, and he's just been tremendous help. Very communicative. Anytime that you get an administrative team that is, one, they support you wholeheartedly, and two, the communication is very clear. I can respect that. That doesn't bother me. Being held accountable doesn't bother me at all. And those are all the things that he brings to the table. And he's come in and he's revamped a couple of different things about Gray Collegiate, about our athletic program. That I think in the long run is going to be a very, very positive thing, not just for Gray Collegiate, but what's going to be overall for high school sports. And so, it's just tremendous blessing to have him, really leading all of our programs and just being, just being kind of that pupil for us too, where we can go to for advice. And believe me, I've gone to him several times with different questions, and he's just always had the right answer to say. So, Coach Heise, if you listen, I don't want to jinx you or anything, so keep up your streak.
Coach, I want to go back to your team for a little bit. Kevin mentioned in the intro you were hired in February. So at this point in July, we've gone through spring ball, 7-on-7 circuits at full blown. You had an off-season weight program, and you're about to transition into your fall camp here. What is the biggest thing that you've learned about your team so far?
They work. That's one of the things I can say. They know how to work. And that's sometimes very rare, especially when you have a new head coach coming in. It may be a team or maybe a group of guys that work, but they always trying to figure out, kind of who you are, what are you about? And so, that was from day one. I mean, the first day I walked in the weight room, I saw guys just being attentive to detail, knowing what they were doing, executing everything, no skip reps, all those other different things. And when you see that, I mean, you can't help but to get excited and say, if these guys are willing to work, now it's my job to make sure that I try to push them to that level of where they want to be, where this team needs to be, where this program needs to be. I talk about, building, continuing to build a program each and every year, because I think the things that our older guys do reflect on our younger guys and then those younger guys as well. And the great part about it is we have a really unique and great setup by having a middle school campus. I mean, middle schoolers being on our campus as well. So those guys are getting an opportunity to see the development side of everything that's going on. They're getting an opportunity to see the process of what's going on. So, that's been the most pleasing part, I guess, throughout this transition, is that, from day one, these guys, I mean, they get to work. They get to work, and they have a level of expectation. And, once you kind of figured a couple of those different things out, it's just really about, putting all those ingredients in the pot, mixing them up, and let's, trying to get this thing to boil.
With you guys going to 4A, that'll come along with a lot of, new teams on the schedule, a bunch of teams you guys aren't super unfamiliar with, I guess. What do you do to kind of maybe learn more about those guys so that you don't have to do so much prep game week where it's not like a team that you play every year, so you have a bunch of guys you hadn't seen before? What do you do to kind of get ready for that where it's not just a lot of pressure in that 7-day period?
Well, I still think, number one, you have to stick with the fundamentals. In my opinion, I think sometimes people just really overcomplicate the game. And you do have to look at kind of the resume and the background of some head coaches, and obviously we as coaches, we talk in this coaching world about, people's tendencies and what they like to do. But at the same time, you have to stop it. I mean, I use Coach Tom Knox, for instance. I had many battles with him when I was over at White Knoll, and we knew exactly what was coming, and there were just times when we couldn't stop it, so you still have to execute, and that's the biggest thing. So, the great part about it is I think our coaching staff has a wealth of knowledge. I think because of the experience that we have, that also brings a lot of familiarity with a lot of the different schools we're playing. And I think, one of the things I'm very fortunate about right now is, between at least 3 of the 4 Aiken County schools, I played, and I've had, a couple different, games with those teams, at least 2 or more games with Aiken High, and not just Aiken High, but also, going against a legendary coach like Dwayne Garrett when he was at Barnwell. And you know what you're going to get. I mean, eventually he's going to line up in the wishbone and say, get you some, and you got to stop it, and guys like, Coach Chapman at Midland Valley. I mean, the way he's turned around that program has been tremendous. South Aiken, Coach Hamilton, he gets the most out of his guys that I think just about anybody in the state does when it comes to that. So, you're going to get a competitive team. So even though like certain things schematically, we may not, be on top of maybe exactly going into that game week, I think the background and the culture sometimes of those coaches or coordinators, I think we do at least have, a little bit of background when it comes to that. Now, I can't tell you that about Baylor. I don't really know much about them right now. I followed Coach Kimry for a while, and he's been extremely successful. So, we're gonna roll up our sleeves and do our best and make sure we try to go, make that long trip to get us a win.
Now, last year 4A was a dogfight, and it looks like it's going to be the same this year. I mean, the playoffs in 4A were so much fun for us to follow last year, and you got a lot of the same names. I mean, Daniel's coming up. People are talking about South Point. You got South Florence, of course, and the defending champion West Side. What is your maybe message for people like us in the media and maybe fans out there who may be overlooking this Gray Collegiate team as you transition up to 4A?
Yeah, I mean, we don't look at it as anything that's really terrifying to us. And I think also too, Gray Collegiate, we can't look in the past on how close we played certain games in 2021 or, those moral victories or anything like that whenever it's come to that, or we've had bigger wins over bigger programs. My thing is my message has been to our guys is the now. And the same way that some of this is new charted waters for us, it's also new charted waters for a couple other schools. When you mentioned the Daniels and some of those other schools that'll kind of be in the mix. Our biggest thing, we just have to make sure we take one game at a time. We got to make sure we learn a lot from any experiences that we have throughout this process. Every game is going to teach us something new. It's going to teach us something different. We're going to be growing as a coaching staff as well. There'll probably be some things that, that'll be a little unfamiliar that I'll do, as well as some of my guys on the staff. So we're all going to just have to continue to grow and just make sure that every single time that we have an opportunity to play, that we're giving ourselves an opportunity. One, from us being able to coach and to be able to give our guys the best game plan, and two, making sure that our guys understand that game plan so they can go out and execute, limit the mistakes, and take advantage of all the different things that we have to take advantage of, because at this level right here, one mistake can really cost you a game. And I think you guys saw that, like you say, you followed 4A, and it was very exciting, all the way down to the wire in the state championship game of being able to see that. So, yes.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
Couple easier ones here for you, Coach. We'll let you go today. Maybe it's in your office on a home game on a Friday night, maybe on the bus to an away game. But what's on that pregame playlist to get you ready for to take the field?
Oh, man, I can never go wrong with playing a little T.I. Man, I still like my old school, Sweet Home Alabama. Just certain things that just never leave you, man. So that was T.I. was my guy coming out of high school and to college and even to my adult age. And then you still have some of those old ones that just don't leave you, from the Friday night smelling of the grass and the grills going and stuff like that. So yeah.
King of the South, never can go wrong with him.
Right.
Kevin kind of lied to you. I got a harder question for you here in this section. You're walking in the facility. My first year covering high school football in the state was 21. You played Gray Collegiate in that championship game when you were at Silver Bluff. What's it like walking in the facility and seeing that banner hanging up?
One, I don't look at that banner. So I know exactly where it's at. And it's actually far away from my office. So I actually do take that pathway. I just don't look at the second picture to the left, because it not only has that team on there, but it also has that score in the background. So I really don't going down memory lane by myself. But it's funny. We talk about it, and some of the guys that were on that staff, and it's just kind of reliving that night a little bit, even though it wasn't a fun night for me, but just getting an opportunity to experience that and to be able to play in that game was a lot. So now, my mindset, especially at this point, is we don't want to just go to the game. We don't want to just play in it. We want to win it. So I told the guys, said, man, my rings are very dusty. Last time I was actually able to win a state championship was 20-odd years ago. So, it's time to put some more hardware on my finger.
I appreciate you answering that. I told you that's my first year covering it. Man, I was so excited going to that game, man. You had a young Trey Dunbar, KZ Adams, man. That was quite the matchup that night.
Oh, yeah.
Coach, you mentioned the facility there, and it's funny. Drill mentions us covering those games in 21. We went and saw Gray Collegiate when they were playing at the rec field still there in Columbia. Now you guys have turf field, new stadium, new stuff coming. I mean, how exciting is it to be a part of that program now? Because you can see the growth coming, and I'm sure there's more on the way.
Yeah. So I'm just tremendously, I'm just proud of the movement that we're having with our with the growth of our athletics. And it's not just there; it's also happening, within the school as well. It's much needed. It was really, really much needed. And the fact that we're able to do a lot of in-house things on campus, it truly means a lot. It means a lot to our kids. It means a lot to our athletes. It means a lot to our the community, and more than anything, the parents. So, we're continuing the growth. It's a state-of-the-art, really facility. There's a lot of pride in it. The thing I'm just always very impressed about, each and every time I walk out there is how clean everything is. And, that all goes back to, our leader, Dr. Brian Newsom, and the expectations that he sets for that place. And then, when you look at some of the guys that are also overlooked on campus, different people that's a part of our maintenance and custodial staff, they do a tremendous job of making sure, and you hear them say that, we want our kids to feel like X, Y, and Z. So when you have that truly means a lot. And I'll say this right here. I also love the fact that I don't have to get on a lawnmower 3 times a week anymore and cut the game field 3 times. Let me say 4 times, because I would also have to cut the practice field. So that was almost a 2-hour process that I was taking away from my family, game plan, and all that other stuff. But, nevertheless, it's tremendous, tremendous blessing to be able to have that.
So, Coach, this question's coming. You already hooked us up. We went down to Silver Bluff last year. We had some J-Dubs before the game, and you hooked us up. You've been in West Columbia, that KC area. Where's some spots that we should check out to eat?
Oh man, you can't go wrong. So I will say this: I haven't eaten out as much. I'm trying to make sure that I don't get to where I was before I left the Midlands area. I was at 286 before I left the Midlands area, and I'm down to 238. So I want to try to make sure I try to at least keep my figure. However, I have experienced a couple different places, and I'll give you guys some more by the time y'all come down. Bogart's has been a place that I've kind of ventured in, that Three Fountains area. That's been a tremendous spot. And a spot that I didn't even eat at a whole lot when I was there. It's another piece of spot is Bellacino's, kind of a really good, true Italian type place to eat. I'll also tell you this too. It's a church down the road that's called Brooklyn Baptist.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. It's good. It's good.
Okay.
It's still good after 11 years. Was the last time I actually ate there. So, if you guys get there early enough, that definitely is kind of like my number one spot to check. But I'll give you guys some more. I just got to try to keep it a little tight, before the season start.
There you go. Well, Coach, you mentioned you played collegiately at Wake Forest. How much do you keep up with Demon Deacon program these days? And are you excited about what Coach Clausen's done and what's coming up in the future for those guys?
Oh man, I tell you what, I love Coach Clausen. I'm sorry. He has done a really good job of inclusion with us as former athletes. He's done everything from getting on weekly calls with us as alums and just letting us know what is going on. And you don't feel like it's a money maker, like he's asking for money or anything like that. It's just more support for the program. I love the fact that there's been so much change that is going on there over the last couple of years. New locker room, indoor facilities, new, just the changes that's been on campus. I've been very fortunate. They've invited me back each and every year during the spring, the night before the spring game, to be able to do their basically like networking dinner. And so I get an opportunity to sit at a table with a couple guys that want to go into the coaching profession. So myself, as well as, different guys that are alums, get an opportunity to come back and just share, about our profession and how we got into the profession and why we're in the profession. And it's always a humbling experience because when you get back on campus, you realize, where you're humble, still those humble beginnings and what it took for you to get to kind of where you're at now. And so it's just, I really keep up with them. I always try to at least make one game a year. And so, matter of fact, I actually just bought some tickets the other day. I'm supposed to go to the California game. So when I guess Cal comes here, I'm supposed to go check out that game. I would have loved to be first game of the season when they play A&T, because I would love to kind of see all that stuff. And the guy who actually recruited me is one of the coaches on A&T staff, KJ Henry's daddy.
Okay.
Nice. So he actually recruited me at Wake Forest. So it'd been tremendous to be able to get back to that game, but definitely want to check that one out. And, maybe one towards the end of the season, but it gets a little cold in Winston-Salem. So, I don't know how much bundling up I really want to do there.
Coach, last one before we let you go. What are some goals that you have for the 2024 version of the Gray Collegiate War Eagles?
Number one is just definitely make sure that we are competitive. When I envision any of my football teams, I at the end of the night, I want the other team to say, that was a tough bunch that we played. We don't use the L word around. We always call it our learning experiences, and that's what we tend to do. But I think if we can go out there and just put our best foot forward, play mistake free, and obviously execute, that's going to be something that I'm going to emphasize a whole lot more moving forward in my coaching career than anything. And like I tell our guys right now, I always try to find ways to better myself, to better our coaching staff, which in turns will better our team. Right now we're focusing on the concepts of the game and getting better in that aspect versus just the play in the plays of the game. So when I envision what 2024 Gray Collegiate football team is going to be a very competitive football team. I think we have to be with what we have. I think we have to be a blue collar type football team. I don't know if any of those wins are going to be pretty. I don't know if they're going to be cute, but I'm okay with taking those rough and rugged wins where we can come in on Monday and say, guys, hey, that was a tough one. Now let's roll up the sleeves and we got to go do it again. So that's what my expectations are.
Well, this has been great. I want everyone to go check out Coach Bryant and the War Eagles program on Twitter and Facebook. They do a great job posting updates on their kids and about their programs. Definitely follow them on there. Like I mentioned, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains. Our website, movinchange.com. Podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Moving the Change brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Jarrell, anything else for Coach? We'll let him go today.
I just want to thank you, Coach, for your time. You've been great to us over the years. Thank you for joining us again. And, it's been really fun keeping up with your career. Like I said, my first year was 21. It was so much fun to watch you down at the Bluff because you gave apparently the best halftime speeches of any coach in the state, the way your guys played those second halves. But looking forward to what you're going to be able to do and build on that foundation at the War Eagle program. And we just know you're going to be successful.
Well, I appreciate you guys, Jarrell, Kevin. You guys have always been good to me, and I appreciate you guys always having me on and the first-class job that you guys do, and thank you for what you do for us as coaches in this business as well.
Coach, really appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. Look forward to stopping by our practice or game next year and getting to see you again, and we'll go eat somewhere good afterwards, all right?
That's right. Always down for that.
Appreciate you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Get ready for the ultimate South Carolina high school football experience with Movin the Chains. From previews to recaps, we've got you covered. Dive into our expert preview shows, predicting winners and sharing insights. Then join us post-game for the thrilling recaps, exclusive interviews, and highlights you won't find anywhere else. Plus, connect with fellow fans on our Friday night spaces on Twitter/X. No one covers South Carolina high school football like us. Join us at Movin Chains on all social media platforms and visit movinchains.com today.